In this respect, I think what I'm saying here, I hope, would have the genesis of a provincial and national urban policy. The provinces and the federal government get an awful lot of their money from urban centers. And that is, if anything, likely to increase over time. It's in their own self-interest, if nothing else, to have those centers be very competitive on the world stage. So, I'm taking way too much time. Put them all together and you say, well, what have you got? Well, in my mind, you have every reason in the three lenses to set out to say, let us set a goal. Let us set the goal of building the world's most attractive, most livable, most equitable, and beyond all else sustainable, medium-sized urban area, period. End of point. That's the goal. Why not? Why would you do anything else? If you got 3/4 of the way there, you probably have done a heck of a job with local sustainability. You've reached a lot of your goals with regard to climate change, if not all of them, at least local contribution. And you've probably absolutely guaranteed your economic future. Because you're fighting off the people who want to come here with bringing the things that you need. So why wouldn't you? So that's I guess that's probably one of the primary attributes of the natural city in terms of trying to accomplish it. It would be goal-based. I think you need that. We have out there, as has been mentioned today, this morning already, huge number of people with great ideas and putting them forward. And I think Glenn mentioned it when you were talking that, they're out there in the ether. And sometimes that's where they stay. And that's where the regional growth strategy has stayed more than it should. Goal-based has a wonderful thing. First of all, it's something that you can excite people about. I'll look back to the days of JFK, in the days when I could call myself young, and I can just remember the goal that we would get to the moon, or America would, and how excited the American populace. I mean, he did. They were like, wow, and they got behind it, and it became a national vision, and they accomplished it. Goal base has that ability to get people energized, get them moving, and you need that. You need that. A lot of what we do fails to get there because it stays with the witches and the wizards, and it doesn't get out there to the masses. That's particularly a problem in democracy. What is it, Winston Churchill that said, democracy is the worst system imaginable, except for all the other ones? Well, I would add to that. I would say democracy is a fabulous system, waiting for a truly engaged and informed electorate. Well, we really need that for the things we want to do now. We need them informed. We need them engaged. Because I work in the political realm. Oversimplifying, I divide politicians into two categories. Those who are there because they have to be to get done what needs to be done. I hope I'm one of those. If I'm not, kick my backside out of here, please. And the second group are those who are there because they want to be there. And I'll tell you, and it's really frustrating, the wannabes, they wouldn't cross the street if they didn't count the votes first, see if people were in favor or not. Politicians love to be loved. How do they know they're loved? People vote for them. So the concept of the natural city, and I think everybody is talking on the same page here, is to get it out there, get it away from the wizards and witches, and get it out there and get it enough traction in the real world of citizenry that it's impossible not to do it, or something of that nature. I don't care what you call it. It doesn't have to be natural city, it doesn't whatever. But you need that groundswell of public support, public demand to push the politicians. 2 years ago, we had the ex-mayor of Honolulu up here. Only ex-mayor because, you know, in the U.S. you get 2 terms and you're gone. And he had been very, very successful, along with a very capable city administrator, in turning around a failed city. You know, very failed. Honolulu had become essentially a place that you flew into to go somewhere else in the Hawaiian Islands. And he started up and he had some slides, very nice. And he said, "Would you fly halfway around the world, go to this place?" I sure as hell wouldn't. You know? And he went on. And then they explained what they had done over a period of his 2 terms to essentially turn it around and make it a place where people wanted to be, where it was attractive, and, you know, understanding that cities really are for people. You know, that's what they're there for. And, you know, and had won a lot of national awards and a bunch of other things. So the end of the session, there was a bit of time for questions, and somebody said, you know, "Gene, you know, this is great. How do you do that? What's the big obstacle? Why isn't everybody doing this?" They said, "Oh, that's easy. The issue is political leadership." And he said, "You know, most politicians won't lead. They're waiting for a parade they can jump in front of it." And he's right. He's exactly right. The problem is they won't marshal that parade. Now, on all the things we're talking about this morning, I think we're talking about how do you marshal the parade? How do you get enough pressure that the parade is happening? Because if it starts to happen, believe me, many of my peers, they won't be able to pump their little legs fast enough to run up to the front of that parade. You know, they don't want to be left behind. You know, they sure don't. You know, so we need to do that, and we're going to we ought to expect more leadership from the politicians. You know, me included. You know, really in the political realm, there should be 2 L's. There should be the L of listening to people, and there should be the L of leadership. And that second L is often in pretty short supply. First L, sometimes we pretend to do it. You know, we have these sessions and, you know, whatever it might be, you know, to let people talk. And maybe sometimes we listen, which is good. But we don't have enough of the second L. I'll give you one more anecdote, and then I'll just talk a few things about the natural city, and then I'll shut up. I had the pleasure of, at FCM conference a couple of years ago, one of the keynote speakers was Alan Gregg, who, you know, is at Decimal Research or whatever. Is anyhow, Canada's probably best recognized pollster. And Alan Gregg went through about a half an hour or 35 minutes of all the polls were showing demographics of the region and this and that and so on and so forth. Oh, it was sort of interesting. And at the end of it, again, a bit of a question time. And some guy from somewhere, I don't know, Winnipeg, I think, stood up and said, you know, "Well, Mr. Gregg, do the polls tell us where to go?" You know, and Greg looked at him like he was sort of from Mars or something. And he said, "Any politician who follows the polls is doomed to failure." And I thought it was pretty impressive coming from, you know, Canada's leading pollster. And he wanted to say, you know, this really successful politicians understand what needs to be done and go about building the consensus of people to allow it to happen. So with all the ideas we have here today, which are fabulous, and the natural city is just one of them, or attempts to compile them or whatever, that's what we really need to do, is we need to go about building that consensus, people, that momentum, that inertia, that excitement that causes it to happen. Okay, let's very quickly